Welcome back. A handful of Canadian sailors recently got the call of a lifetime. Come to New Zealand for a crash course in handling an open 60 in the open seas.
And an open 60 boat, for all you land lovers, means that the boats don't need to be fixed in their design, but they are restricted to 60 feet in length.
And we now bring you this intimate behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to master the technique of sailing one of these big machines.
These are Canada's top athletes of the small seas. They race small boats, but they've been invited to Auckland, New Zealand to come and play on a big boat.
You gotta love a city that's built around sailing.
The boat is an open 60.
It's an offshore racer. It's designed for going around the world, fast, short-handed sailing.
Kiwi Dan Slater has been a competitive sailor for years for New Zealand. Now he wants to see if he can inspire these Olympians to sail in the big seas.
It was an opportunity that was given to those Olympic sailors to develop a skill that isn't readily available in Canada. There isn't a big boat scene, really.
The boat is christened O Canada as a nod to her Canadian roots.
She looked so long, sleek, fast, and I hadn't even been on her.
Feels like you could take it down to the Southern Ocean without any troubles, for sure.
Canadian Derek Hatfield limped this boat into Auckland after a failed round-the-world attempt in the Vendée Globe race.
I got involved with O Canada. Well, it wasn't O Canada then, it was actually Spirit of Canada when Derek Hatfield owned the boat.
Hatfield had to drop out of the race, so he left the boat behind and the O Canada project began.
Okay, now what do we do with the boat and how do we revamp it really and give it a rebranding and give it a new life?
What better way than to throw some Canucks on board and see how she flies?
We haven't really had enough time in the boat to find the limits, so while the Canadians were on board, part of that time was finding limits.
But before limits can be tested, basics must be learned. These salty dogs here are used to sailing near the coast. This boat is made for the open seas.
This is more like a Dakar rally car. You're spending a lot of time in this boat. You don't come in after an hour's sailing, you spend night after night in the ocean. I was very worried that we were going to lose a finger. Okay, hoist. On some of those winches, there's up to 4 ton of load.
Watch your fingers.
Sailing's an experienced sport, and especially a boat like that, you can't just jump on and expect to be able to control it very well.
That first introduction to the boat was, you're a little awestruck, right, by all the new big technical systems.
It was all quite overwhelming. There was so many ropes, blocks, lines. There was so much on the boat.
Before the crew kissed the shore goodbye, Dan had them hop in a wave pool to train for some of the rough weather the ocean could throw at them.
The safety at sea course was definitely an eye-opener because, you know, I didn't really think about what it would be like or what you would do in those situations.
Last thing we really wanted was to have somebody go overboard, just because the boat's traveling at such a fast pace. The biggest risk is hypothermia. The water's really cold.
After a crash course on the basics, it's time to see how this boat flies.
Yeah, so we just crack sheets and how to send it.
As we hit to 20 knots, it was like, woohoo! We all come from little boats, and you know, when we hit 20 knots on a little boat, that's pretty fast and pretty scary.
There's a level of nervousness as well, you know, as the boat starts to take off and really load up, you know, but on the other hand, I mean, the guy in the tiller is just giggling away.
By the end of training, Dan is satisfied.
We didn't have any major stuff-ups, we didn't have anyone injured. Everybody had a respect for the boat, and we couldn't really ask for anything more, really.
For now, most of the crew has their sights on racing their respective categories at London's 2012 Olympics. But who knows what the ocean holds for them in the future.
They've been opened up to another avenue of sailing, another path that they may want to take in the future.